Hi, Vaughn. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join. And also Tyler. I'm just waiting for him to connect and then we'll start. Hi, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. So, Tyler just need to connect. Ask to join, which I think you've done brilliant. I'll just connect you. Just waiting, connecting. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good, good, good. What time is it in Canada right now? I presume it's morning.
Yeah, I'm in Nova Scotia and it's 1 p.m. right now.
Oh, okay, so it's the afternoon then. So you're just 5 hours behind then. So thank you for joining me. I'm delighted to be speaking to you, but I think
Oh,
your
no problem.
connection's
Thank you for
gone.
having me.
You're welcome. No, it's our mutual friend Lindsay Porter, who you did an interview with a
Pardon?
while ago. So she sort of said you were a good person to chat
Oh,
to. Lindsay Porter. Yeah.
yes, he's great. Yeah.
Okay. So we just went. Yeah. You're great. Yeah. No, I listened to the interview. It's a great interview as well. She's a good friend as well. So first and foremost, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, Tyler?
I am I live in Nova Scotia, from North Preston. It's the biggest, one of the largest, population-wise, the largest Black community in Canada. Um, and yeah, I do filmmaking. I speaking a lot about my experiences.
I think I've lost you.
Oh, is it working
Mhm.
now? Okay.
It is now. You're back. So if you want to repeat what you said.
Yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I also do acting and I have a clothing line. I am really into like mindfulness and meditation. Do a lot of keynote speaking, speak to different schools and different companies about mindfulness, and um, I'm a big believer that creativity can be therapeutic and it can help us through some of the darkest times because it's definitely helped me um,
Mhm.
in that flow state, similar to the flow state we get when we're meditating. I like to talk about the importance of that and how it's helped me so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And one of the things you've done a TEDx talk as well. So be very sort of
I did. Yeah.
modest. Yeah. Be very modest. It's a big deal. That's a big deal. So what the reason why I want to talk to you, Tyler, is that mental health issues in the Black community. It's sort of almost and a lot of communities. It's a taboo issue, and I know that you have had some issues and been very open about them, and just to how you cope with your issues and give us examples of how you navigate the space and how you use creativity to help you with that so you can be help others that may be going through this, especially right now with the pandemic, where
Yeah.
this is on the increase. Yeah.
Yeah. So for myself, the pandemic, when it first started, I was full blown in a panic. Um,
Mm.
Definitely had a few panic attacks, thinking that the world was over, and I'm like, what's going on? Things are just shutting down, businesses, and a lot of confusion, fear, uncertainty, and I had to take a step back and think, okay, what do I need to do right now? And thankfully, I learned about mindfulness and studied things like Taoism and even Stoicism and things that I feel can prepare you for situations like these. And that
Mm.
really just put me into this space, into this mindset of thinking, okay, you know what? The world feels like it's on fire right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can do is just be present, think about how I want this to go for me and what I can do for the people around me. Um, just focus on what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've realized that with this pandemic going on and it's stopping, like, it basically just stopping everything.
Mm.
I had to go within and I had to find that peace within. I couldn't rush around and have meetings with people all the time. I couldn't escape from my feelings. I had to sit with them. I had to be compassionate towards myself. I had to be compassionate towards the people in my bubble and focus on what's really important. And it can be really, I think for most of us, it's really uncertain times, and
Mm.
a lot of people are confused.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to know that it's okay to feel that way
Mm.
because this is weird. It's really weird what we're all going through right now. Um, but at the same time, the way that we can get through it with in the most productive way, I feel, and in the most sane way is being in this moment, taking care of what's in our environment, taking care of our minds, our reevaluating things. I've reevaluated literally everything in my life since the pandemic started. Just thinking about different things I want for myself for the future. I thought
Mm.
about before this pandemic and certain things I was doing because I was thinking, oh, I have to do this or I'm supposed to do this. Um, certain
Mm.
things I was like, oh, this will financially be really good for me in the future. And that's the only reason why I'm doing it. But this pandemic really showed me, like, no, I have to do what I love. And I
Yeah.
have to just focus on those things that I love because they can be taken away just like that. And
Mm.
like those, like a job can be taken away just like that. So I think it's so important for us to do those things that we love to do, that we're passionate about, and that we really care about.
Yeah. What would you suggest? Because some people think that, you know, they just exist in Tyler and they don't realize what's important. And I know we've got, you know, the world had to take a collective breath and slow down. How do you, I suppose, how would you explore and find out what things that you like and can grow to love if you're not, if you don't realize that already?
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, because a lot of people, and I was one of them, don't really know where to start. They're like, okay, so what do I love? Um,
Yeah.
but I'd say spend time with yourself and don't try to force it. I
Mm.
yeah, I just sit with myself sometimes and meditate, or I will journal and not even really think about what I'm writing. I'll just write down all of my thoughts and just look at it. And I'm like, oh, this is really on my mind today. um, and it's really the more that we do those things that help us connect with ourselves more, I think that the things that we love will just pop up and we'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm really into this. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I thought for a long time, because I came from a corporate background, and if you'd said to me that I was creative, it's like, no way, I'm not creative. I became very logical
Mm,
because I was working with IT a lot. So it was like, that's the way I lost all my creativity. And it wasn't until I left that
mm,
environment that I decided to do a program. It's called Creating the Impossible. So what you had to do in 90 days, you had to think of something that you wanted to create. It didn't matter if you achieved it. It was just, you just played basically with it. And mine, I think, was to
yeah.
like double my salary. So, you know, the basic logical stuff like double my salary, And I think it was some crazy back then that I wanted to do. And in doing that, because I'd been given the freedom just to be and do it, unconsciously, what I really wanted to do came through. And it was basically to make yoga more inclusive. I didn't even know that, because I began to see that when I was on the yoga mat, there were many people around me that looked like me. And I kept talking about this curse on yoga, which is, I didn't know it was that at the time, but and my coach at the time was like, you keep talking about this, stop going to the shiny things. I like shiny things, you know, move on to the next thing. It's like, just leave that to one side for a little while and come back. And then this, like, it was almost like I threw all these seeds, Tyler, into the ground, and then some of them started to grow, and this one came out from the ground. And I didn't have to complete that program, Tyler, because it was almost like she said, I got stuck like a tap. It got stuck. And then, but then I started to unhinge it, and then it just started to flow out. And then just by being in the moment, like you said, then all these different things and skills that I didn't even know I had just came out. It was almost like I gave myself permission to be creative. And you obviously are creative, Tyler. And I don't know if that's a similar example that you went through as well, because a lot of us get stuck. We just don't think. We're just so into the future, and we're afraid sometimes to sit with ourselves. I know you said that's what we need to do, but some people are afraid. In Savasana, in a yoga studio, Tyler, people get, you know, they finish the cool down, and as soon as we, you know, we say line your back for 2 minutes, the mat's up and they've gone. They're just so fearful. And I think Savasana is everyone says it's one of the easiest postures, but it's not. It's one of the hardest ones, because you don't want to be with yourself. It's more difficult. So I don't know how you speak to that as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I get that. And it's this world's so busy, and like that word busy, it keeps coming to my mind. I feel like we've been conditioned in a way to feel that we always need to be doing something. And what doing something in like the eyes of capitalism looks like is basically burning yourself out. It's like it's just doing everything you can to make money, and even if you don't like it. And I've been thinking very differently about things like capitalism during this whole pandemic, and thinking about how I can, instead of be used by it, I can use it, I guess, to my advantage, and be like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to focus on these things that I love, and I'm going to live off of these things. And it really gave me a lot of confidence, like since the beginning of this pandemic, because I took a lot of time to think, and to meditate, and to write down my thoughts, and to try and figure out what I want for my life. And pieces started to come together. It took a while, but pieces started to come together. And now, even though the world is in this weird place, I feel like I'm finally really comfortable and confident that I'm on that path that I always wanted to be on. And it just took slowing down and being still to get there. And that just goes to show the importance of slowing down and being still. Because if I was just going and going, I wouldn't have took that time to reflect and think, oh, this is causing me a ton of stress, so I probably don't even want to do this thing. But during the pandemic, I had those times of thinking in that way, and it was a blessing in disguise, it feels like.
It is. I think that's been the case for a lot of people, but you know, everybody thought they couldn't slow down. It's like there's no way, because the whole world, whatever happened and why it happened, but the whole world, and it shows it's possible, was able to slow down. And the only thing that I not regret, but I don't want to happen, and it's already happening, people are returning to this normal, but normal wasn't, and they keep saying, I want to go back to normal, but normal wasn't sustainable. That's why
It wasn't.
we've got so much mental issues. People are burning out, and people aren't happy because it's all about the hustle. It's all about the, you know, if you're not
Yeah.
grinding, you feel guilty. I remember in the beginning when before I took this path, it's like all my friends were like, oh, when are you going to come back to corporate? You've got all these qualifications, so when are you going to get a job? It's like, this is my job. They couldn't understand that. They just thought I was playing at being a yoga teacher, and they just didn't understand it. And it's only now I think they can see that I'm happy and I'm starting to do okay at what I'm doing. But it took being different. And how do you reconcile with being different? Because, you know, especially black men, we're taught, well, you're taught, but you're taught not to show your feelings. You've got to man up, and anything that's going on in your life, you can't show emotion. It's not the done thing. So how did you reconcile with that? And you use your platform to show that and to share that.
Yeah, I started to become more vulnerable and more open about my feelings, and just showing who I really am to people. Years ago, when I first started doing public speaking, and I remember I was coming out of this really dark place in my life, and I was thinking I really want to help people, and I would read about these different people and watch documentaries on them, like some great artists and some just great people who've lived in this world. And the majority of them, I think all of them, they really were just confident enough to share who they were. And I really took that with me. And I really realized that if I really want to make an impact, if I really want to help in the way that I say I want to help, I have to open up. I have to let people know they're not alone, and that I deal with certain things too. And it became really freeing for me. Mental illness like depression and anxiety and all of these thoughts I used to deal with so much. They used to be this thing that I felt I had to hide, and I was ashamed of it. I felt that it made me weak. I felt that I was the only one in my community that had it. And then, yeah, I just realized I I went through a lot of therapy, a lot of meditating, a lot of studying mindfulness, and just going within. And I realized there's nothing broken about me, and there's nothing broken about any of us. We Sometimes we have some things about us that we need to work on, but that doesn't mean that we're broken. There's nothing fixed. We just need to work on that. The same way, if there's a body part that needs to be worked on, we need to work on parts of our mind. And the stigma around mental illness has started to go away. I started seeing it the same as my physical health, because I'd go to the doctor for my physical health, and nobody would question me for that. So I feel like, it's really the same as physical health, and that's how it should be looked at. And just having that mindset and believing those things has really been beneficial.
No, I can see that, and it's so true, because without mental health, you're not healthy. You know, you can't be completely healthy. And it's so funny how, you know, we'll take care of the car. You know, we take it for its annual MOT or whatever checkup, put the oil in it and take care of it, put air in the tires, but we just keep going and going and going until we burn out. And a lot of the times we get signals, and we ignore them. Like, you get that little flick on the face to say, something's not right, you're not sleeping well, you're not eating properly. And sometimes it takes serious illness before we listen to the body, because we have no choice but to. But it's that continual grinding, and people don't seem to realize that, in our life, we have all this technology that makes our life easier, but it's more intrusive, because,
Yeah.
and it's about body image. It's like the social media, if you don't get these likes, you're on there trying to put this imagery out, and it's just causing so much
Yeah.
disease, mental disease and physical disease, because and the next generation will look back at us and think, how the hell did we sustain this? And we aren't sustaining it, because there's so
No.
much misery. And people need to realize, like you said, everything we need is in us. We're born with it, but we're so far
Yeah.
removed from that. We believe what society tells us. Like with me, when I was in corporate, it was like, oh, to be happy, you need this, the house, the car, the job, all those things. Got all those things. And it's like, I'm here now, I'm not happy. And for me,
Yeah.
it took illness for me to realize that I wasn't happy. And I'm not doing what I ever imagined I'd be doing. I believe there's something bigger than me out there that's got this path for me. And the more I embrace that path, the more I'm happier. And I couldn't be happier in that respect. And
Yeah.
I can't see I go back into corporate now, and I teach yoga in corporate, because I see people that look like me when I was back there all those years ago, not wanting to stay still, wanting to,
Yeah.
be at the next meeting, not in the moment. Whereas now it took me, like, you can tell me how you started your meditation journey, but I couldn't reconcile with meditation. It's like, I got so caught up in the doing, the mind needs to be still. And it was like, so it became so anxious about that. But it took somebody saying to me, and I said to my student, just go and sit down in a room and make yourself bored for 10 minutes. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
And you sit there, and then the silence becomes more and more and more. And that's how I began my meditation journey. I don't know if you want to share, Tyler, how you started yours and what it was like for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. For me, I started with, I actually remember I went to my therapist, and he he talked to me about meditation. At first, I was kind of skeptical and was like, "Is that really going to help me just sitting there?" um, but I was really determined to become better, and I um, I just started. I started doing guided meditations, and I would do them like every single day. And I started meditating without the guided, and just trying to be still and not judge my thoughts that were coming in. And it took a while, but I started to realize the benefits from it. I started to feel more like myself.
Mm.
So that a lot of the times we're so impacted by these external things in the world, and it can cloud our view of what we even like, the things we even like, or what we are like. Just these things in the media and social media, definitely. um, and yeah, I started to be more conscious of that, of the information that I was taking in that was not that helpful for me, and understanding how my brain worked. Like, oh, if I spend this amount of time just focusing on bad news, chances are I'm not going to be very happy. Um, and it's something that sounds like people would hear that and they're like, of course, that's true. Like, if we focus on that, then we're not going to be very happy. But we
You
do
mean,
it so much. What's that?
no, you broke up a little bit there, but you've come
Oh,
back now.
but yeah,
Yeah.
we do it so much. Like, even with Instagram, like, I'm barely on here now. I used to be on here all the time, but I come on if I have to like post something or do something like this. And I made the decision while I was even like in quarantine, I was making the decision that I need to prioritize. I can use a lot of that time that I spend just scrolling, looking for something that I don't even know what I'm looking for, but I'm just looking. I can use that time to
Mm.
journal or to
Yes.
spend with myself. And
Mm.
sometimes we need to make those sacrifices.
Yeah.
And not in this extreme way where we're like, oh, I'm going to discipline myself, I can't go on, and all this stuff. Like, we can be gentle with ourselves. We can say, like,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll still go on for a
Yeah.
quick minute or
Yeah.
so, and that's okay though. Like,
Yeah.
just showing ourselves compassion is important too.
Exactly, because we're humans, we're not robots, so we don't always get things
Exactly.
right, and we need to be gentle with ourselves. And I think sometimes, Tyler, people, especially when they come to yoga, it's almost like they need permission to be. It's almost like they come and they're on the mat and they want to perfect this posture, and it's like, just enjoy it, just play with it. And once
Yeah.
they do that, then they realize, it doesn't have to be that way. It's like, it's not about being rigid and being tight. That's not yoga. It's not like a boot camp. Like I always say, if you're not breathing in yoga, it's boot camp. You're not doing yoga, because the breath is more important than the asana. But it's just taking that education. But you can't, I suppose, blame them, because the imagery of what they see is all about the postures, about these beautiful postures where they twist it up, leg behind the head, and they,
Hmm.
they and they get put off from doing that. They don't realize that there's so much more to it: the mind body
Yeah.
connection, the breath control, the really, because yoga brought me home to myself. And I know you have a yoga practice as well, and you're into
Mhm.
Buddhism as well. So I don't know if you, because a lot of men don't do yoga, because in the West right now it's had a transition and it's mainly deemed as being done by women. So what would you say to somebody who's a man out there that's curious about yoga? How would you tell them to go about exploring having a yoga practice?
Um, I would, yeah, I'm thinking about what I would say to myself when like to my younger self. I would say, like, don't take life too serious and
Mm-hmm.
play with it. It's
Yeah.
so, it's so important to move. It's so important to like get in touch with our bodies and our breath and just move our bodies in ways that we usually don't. And I think even just that playing with it part is so important. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
even like with all of the different things that I do, I used to be at a place where I felt like I was burning myself out all of the time, and I was just so rigid with it, and I was like, I have to make sure I do this at this time, do this meeting at this time, and it was just so structured to the point of where it wasn't even fun. Um, and much like yoga, you can flow in, you can
Yeah.
into flowing into work, like flowing into the work that you love to do, flowing into like the filmmaking that I do. I want to play with it. I don't need to go on set and know exactly what we're going to do that day. We can play. We can figure things out on the fly, and there's so much beauty in that. There's so
It
much
is.
beauty. There's so much
Yeah.
beauty in making a mistake and then figuring out, oh, this is how I don't make that mistake again.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Because people think, oh, it's failure, but it's not failure, it's feedback. And that's the way I
yeah,
changed that mindset. That's how you
yeah,
learn. It's like a young child, and we have that will come out and is so curious, and they learn maybe then not to touch certain things because it's too hot or what have you. But then they get they become limited because they think, oh, I can't do this anymore because of my age, my size, my gender. And it's like I say, just get out there and do it. You know, let your body inform you what you can and can't do. Don't come in from the mind and be limited by the mind. The mind is an amazing tool, but it will try and protect you in a certain way. And sometimes that protection is going to limit you from living your best life, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Just like as an example, I actually I got casted in a theater play recently, and
Congratulations.
it's my first theater. It's my thank you. This is my first theater play that I'm acting in, and before I went to the audition, I was speaking to the director of the play, and I was telling her, yeah, I've never done this before, but I can try. And she's, I just want you to feel. Just come to the audition and feel. In that day that I was going to the audition, my anxiety was almost taking over. It was so bad. And I had thoughts of backing out. I was like, I'm not going to do this. What am I doing right now? I'm not even prepared for this. But I got there, and right before I walked in to do the audition, I remember just sitting there with myself and thinking, she just wants me to feel. That's all she wants me to do. So that's what I did with my words, with the way that I moved. And I got casted in it, and it was like a validation of that thing of, if you go with your gut and you go with your heart, and you just play with it, and you don't think so much about what can go wrong. You think, I'm just going to do my thing. It usually turns out
fine. Yeah, because as I go back, we've got it in us. I call it showing up and reigning. It's like you just show up, and whatever's going to be will be, and whatever you need to say or do, I think will come up through you in the most organic and the most authentic way. I think I've lost you. And that's, yoga is teaching me to be kind of good to myself through all of the mistakes I have made doing it. That's awesome. That's going that. Sorry, I lost you there for a little bit, but I think I was talking anyway. That's fine. So someone was saying that, yeah. So I've learned what I do is just show up and reign, because what I found, if I prepared too much and I forgot the words, I'd freeze, because I'm trying to remember what it is I prepared for. But if I go up, there's nothing on it. No one knows what I meant to say or gonna do. It's like so they won't know I've gone wrong or gone off piece. So it's just show up, just be confident. But and I used to do salsa dancing. I remember my teacher said, every time you forgot a step, you stop, but everyone knew you forgot the step. And she goes, keep going, be wrong and strong, because the steps you'll come back into sync with the steps. And that's what I try and apply now, because it is so right. You stop, you freeze, but you keep going. And that's what it is. And it's okay to make the mistake. Sometimes things go right by the mistake. Sometimes you learn from the mistake, and basically that mistake can have such a profound effect on your life. And that's how I learn more, that what I don't like, by trying, but not by stopping. If I don't do something, I used to always say, I'm not going to do this because I don't like it, but I hadn't lived the experience. And it's like, wait, so I don't like Formula One. That's one example. I don't like, it's boring. But I went to it live. I went to see it live, and I loved it. And it was like, I saw on TV, it was so boring. It was a different experience being live. And then from there, it's like, I'm never going to say never. I will go, and then I'll make an informed decision about what it is I don't like or not. And that's what I live by. And like you say, and that's why I go with the flow, because movement, Tyler, is intrinsic to what we are. Stop a child from moving and see what happens. We're born to move. And I read somewhere the other day, it's like, we're born to either hunt for our prey or to run and not be prey. So we were born to move. But right now in society, everything's so quick and instant. All we do is just walk around just moving our head, because we're not moving our body anymore, until you either do something that you love, and all this moving your body because you hate it. Because movement, people think movement is about exercise, and it's not. It's about natural movement. It's about dancing. It's moving your body in ways that you want, and just feeling it from the inside out, but not this getting on a treadmill and running nowhere. I can't do that myself. I hate it. But that's what people are doing, and that's why they're not liking movement because they're doing something because they feel they have to do it, not because their body's loving it. If you see, you know, it's like that saying, dance because dance like nobody's watching, and what's the freedom that you give yourself.
Yeah, I do that every day.
Yeah, there you go. You see, the creative with you,
Yeah.
and that's the love of it, because you're moving your body because you love your body, not because you hate it. And that's what people need to do. And once they do that, they can be in a healthier place more naturally, because if you're doing, it's like with me at the moment. I need to buy a skateboard. I used to skateboard when I was younger, and I don't know if I still got it. And I saw a friend of mine doing it the other day, and she goes, "Get it." So I'm going to buy one and go on the road and just see if I got it, because I've got nothing to lose. But it gave me so much joy. Just going back to that, and that's what I think we need to do. And as Black people as well, Tyler, I think a lot of us feel we have to be reserved, and I know we have to assimilate. And this leads into what we're going through right now with the whole Black Lives Movement. I'm not sure how it's affecting you and how it is in where you are in Nova Scotia. But I just know right now that we're hopefully going through some sort of change for the better, because we've been oppressed too much, and we've had to assimilate. I know I've had to do it, assimilate to be palatable to the environments I've been in, whether it's been in a corporate job or even yoga. So I don't know how you want to speak to that as well, Tyler.
Yeah, I've definitely had to do that as well. It's very, like, even coming from a Black community, it's, for me, it was like, okay, I am now going to the outside world, like the white world, and have to basically, I have to watch how I'm acting. I have to walk a certain way and talk a certain way. I have to not be threatening, and even though I knew that I wasn't trying to harm anybody. But a lot of the times in the Black community, we are even taught that. We're taught, oh, make sure that you walk into the store this way. You have your hood down. You have your hands in your pockets. You don't look suspicious. These different things. And things that really can affect a young child. And I think that's a long conversation that it's, I think right now it's really a time where people are starting to recognize that. And I've had a lot of conversations with people who said, and they were really genuine, they said, I had no idea. And for me, when I first was hearing that from people, I was thinking, what? There's no way that you didn't know. But there is a way that they didn't know about this. There's different cultures, and in my culture I was taught certain things, and I lived through certain things, seen these microaggressions when I would, like, walk into a store or
I've lost you. I lost you a little bit there, Tyler.
so
You're still gone.
And
You come back. Can you repeat that, Tyler? So I lost you for a little bit there.
oh, okay. Yeah, there's so many, like, microaggressions I've been through, like, with sports, and, like, if I walk into a store, or if I am hanging out with people, or if I'm, like, at a bar, and, like, a lot of things that a lot of white people wouldn't necessarily notice. And there's just so many different things that go into that. Anxiety goes into that. Depression goes into that. You feel like you can't express yourself because you don't want people to think, oh, he's just using the race card, or he's being aggressive, or he's being crazy, things like that. And it can really affect us a lot. And I think that from this moment right now that we're in, it's really this time where people are starting to take a moment to listen and to notice it themselves. And even with some people I've been talking to, they're saying, I've had people come to me and say, I've been racist and I had no idea. And I actually get excited when I see that because like, yeah, you were. So thank you for realizing it.
Yeah.
The people in sometimes when I get the messages like, oh, I don't understand this, and I'm like, gosh, do I have to teach this? Like, but that's not my job, and
Yeah,
I, yeah, but I think we're in a very interesting place in the world right now,
I
and
agree.
there's so much room for growing, so much
Yeah.
room for growing. Yeah.
And I'm not sure if all the change that I want to see will happen in my time, but certainly all the work that we're doing, I suppose, is for the next generation. That
Oh,
that this change, it's not a moment, but it's a movement. It's not going to happen overnight, but at least the conversations are still happening, the movements are still happening, and we're calling it out a lot more now in that respect. So I'm
yeah,
very hopeful in that respect as well. So
yeah.
Tyler, before we go, what plans have you got for the future? And after we come through, well, we don't know if we're going to get back to normal ever, but in terms of what you're doing personally going forward.
Um, Personally, I am. Yeah, I focused a lot on how I want to live, how I want to just how I'm and with the least amount of stress as possible. Um, I
Mm.
want to I just want to be myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want to, and I have been being myself, but I want to continue to be myself, and I want to make decisions that feel right for me, and just continue to inspire and to create things because that's what I love doing. I love creating, and so I have a good amount of things set up for when we get out of this weird situation or when it turns into something more stable, I guess. Um, so I have a documentary that I'm working on. There's Soul in Our Soil, and I start shooting that next month, actually. Um, and also still working on the play that I'm casted in this that's titled Psychosis 448. I'm working on my clothing line, Tyler Simmonds Clothing, and I also am working on my website, Stillness is Key, which is about a lot of like Stoicism and Taoism, and just it gives people supplies to help them
Mm-hmm.
have a pleasant meditation, things that I would use to help me meditate. And I have like
Yeah.
guided meditations on there. And yeah, those are the main things that I'm working on right now. And a few things.
I've lost you again. I've lost you again there, Tyler. Sorry. And yeah, I've lost you a little bit there. It's about a few other things you're working on, I think, is where we lost you.
Oh, yeah, and a few other things that I'm not allowed to talk about right now, but they're
Okay, fine.
really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple of comments. Somebody said, well, the new normal, which is, yeah, that's what we're going into. But someone recommended world domination for you. Go watch this space for that. Never think too small. Never think too small. But thank you, Tyler. Can you let everyone know where they can find you if they want to connect with you? Look at your website, your clothing line, and the play. I can't, I won't be to get there unless I come and visit at some stage. But just where people can reach out to you, etc.
Yeah, sure. You can go to tylersimmonds.com. I am mainly on Twitter, so you can follow me on Twitter, and that's just find me Tyler Simmonds on Twitter. Um, yeah, and my YouTube channel is Tyler Simmonds CLO, and yeah, those are the main ways to find me, and I'll have updates on all of the projects that I'm working on, and I have some really exciting stuff coming up.
I'll definitely I'll join and watch this space. But thank you, Tyler. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing about you and all that you do.
Thank you
and be
so much.
safe.
This was great.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
you
Take
too.
care, Tyler. Okay, bye.